Welcome everybody. This is another sprint demo from the Evernym team that contributes to Hyperledger. And we're excited to give people an update. We try to do a video every couple of weeks to update people on what we're doing and how it can impact everybody else who's working in the Indy, Aries, Ursa communities. This specific sprint, we've been focused, we're having a team summit. We're all together. A lot of us work remote, but we're all together in the same office and been able to work on Jira cleanup and preparing. We're going to be presenting at the Hyperledger bootcamp in Moscow next week, so we've been working on presentations for that. Hopefully we can record some of them and get them posted. So that's been our main focus. This demo discussion is going to be a bit lighter than normal, but let me share my screen really quick. So we're going to start off. Vladimir is going to talk to us about the recent stable releases, and then Renata is going to tell us where we're at with the PBFT view change. We've been working on that project for a very long time, I think. And then I'll go through some of the other projects we've been working on and what we're going to do next. So I'll stop sharing and let Vladimir share.
Hello, let me share my screen. We have released Indy Node and Indy SDK last week. So what's about Indy Node and Sovrin side? We implemented PBFT view change and made corresponding code improvements. Also, there were a lot of BLS multi-signature fixes and improvements. Now we support the latest version of the MQ library, so now we have no vulnerability that was found in the previous version and reported by community members. And we made a lot of stability fixes. That's what about in the node side. So now we have PBFT view change implemented, but not enabled yet, and it will be active in the future versions. What's about in the SDK side? We supported minimal fully qualified identifiers in the experimental mode. So now we can use both fully qualified and unqualified identifiers. There were implemented a lot of new functions that relates to this feature. So now we can get our uncreated entities, get them qualified and unqualified. And also there were some another things as Android migration and support macOS builds in the CLI, and also there were some minor bug fixes. That's about in the SDK side. So I believe that's all from my side. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you for all the work you do in coordinating the releases, Vladimir, the automated testing, the improvements to the CI pipeline. You've done a lot of work over, you don't get enough credit, so thank you for all that effort. Okay, Renata, let's get the update on PBFT view change.
No, let me share my screen. So, during the last sprint, we integrated the new PBFT view change. It's time to look at the results. After integration, we started a load test. So the pool remains in consensus. The new view change liked the pool so much that it did a view change again and again without leaving time to record transaction from users. With the red circle, I marked when the view change will happen. After analyzing the results of the load test, we identified the following problems. To begin, the new reordering logic found a problem with writing incorrect primaries list to the audit ledger. So the nodes could not set the correct list of primary nodes after the audit ledger catch-up. And reordering all transactions can be doing. Secondly, the message queues were not cleaned at the right time, so the view change messages were not formatted correctly. The view change can be completed. In addition, the monitor data was not always updated, which led to false starts of the view change. And finally, messages received during the view change were not processed, but were in the waiting line until the next view change. All of these issues were fixed during this sprint. Also, changes were made to improving the work of the new view change. It's don't stabilize checkpoints after the view change if a replica doesn't have this checkpoint, and primary login behind a stable checkpoint should not send new view. After making these changes, we again started a load test, and the results were impressive. No memory overflows or loose consensus. Change began and ended in the shortest time. All nodes recorded the exactly same number of transactions. And some interesting statistics. During this sprint, we removed 1,627 lines of old, unstable, and dangerous code. We fixed more than 100 tests and production load tests with a force view change for every 30 minutes were successfully finished and all nodes in consensus.
Renata, I just want to slow down a minute. So that last point, that's the test that we had fail all last year that made us think we needed to do PBFT view change. Is that correct?
Yes, we unskipped tests which we write in the last year, I think, with a logical problem, and all of them worked correctly and passed.
Excellent. Can you go back one slide?
Yes, of course.
So I want to
Yes.
make sure I understand. So the domain transactions written is the total domains on the ledger and the total token transactions on the ledger, and then you're seeing how many errors are raised during a view change in that state. Is that what this is? And so there's no errors raised? That's what we're supposed to do?
No information, the only one information about view change. All nodes had 27 view changes, and all successfully finished. And yes,
Very
we
nice.
write these transactions in domain and token ledgers, and all nodes have same data.
But that's the total number of transactions written during the 27 view changes.
Yes,
Yep.
during all load test.
And how long of a duration is that load test? Minutes, hours, or days?
This load test, last load test, this load test was during from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. But we stopped it because we need pull for another load test. And I think after changes that we will merge today, we will start a new load test with new results to analyze. That's
significant progress, though. Thank you for going through that slowly.
That's it. Thank you.
That's a major effort, and I'm really glad to see us gaining confidence that it's working as expected. We're excited to put it out this month. Okay, so I guess it's my turn again, right? Sharing screen. Okay, so we talked a bit about, so on Indy node, the backlog's pretty clear. Over this month, we're going to get the PBFT view change, polished up, finish the testing, make sure we're confident, documented, and get it released. That's the goal for the next couple weeks. Now, it's a lighter sprint because some of us are going to be assisting with the Hyperledger Bootcamp Moscow. But we expect to be able to get that work done. That's a significant amount of work. On the SDK side, it's going to be much lighter as well because of the travel, but it's also light because we've been doing lots of architecture experiments. The SDK backlog is in quite a bit of flux given the Aries project and us trying to figure out how best to support the larger Aries effort to make sure that our employer Evernym can benefit from as much of the Aries project as possible, and also that we can contribute to other people moving forward with Aries as quickly as possible. We want to see it be easy to adopt and make it, we feel like shared common code bases, common wallet standards, these things are going to help every Aries framework to move forward faster. So to do that, we've been looking at other Aries agents. That's been quite a bit of effort. We did a proof of concept or proposal for how we can get the Aries wallet moved, the Indy wallet moved into Aries. The Aries contributors hadn't met any concerns with that, so that's largely on pause. You can learn more about that by attending the Indy contributors calls and the Aries working group calls. You can find those in the Hyperledger wiki. If you just, I just accidentally assigned an issue. In the Hyperledger wiki, if you just type Indy working group or Aries working group, you can see all those calls and the times. That's a good way to be part of the conversation about how to best move forward on Aries shared libraries. And so you can see the Indy contributors call here. So we did that proof of concept that got put on pause. We've also been looking at, one of the main concerns is that Evernym started our products, especially Connect.me, before Aries existed, and we handle credential exchange. Our approach to credential exchange was the beginnings of the Aries protocol, but then there were a lot of contributions to improve it, and our products haven't kept pace. The Aries community does not want to continue with credential exchange as a shared common library, so libvcx as it exists today in the Indy SDK is likely to go away, but it's what is the foundation of Evernym's mobile agent Connect.me. And so we're looking at, could we do a temporary solution to get Connect.me to support the Aries protocols without it being too expensive? And looks like we can on the Connect.me side, but then it gets passed through the Evernym agency, which is a whole separate code base. We're not sure if that's going to be possible or not. So we spent some time looking into that. We're going to continue to look at that probably for another week before we make a decision one way or the other. And we've been processing feedback. There have been a lot of conversations. If you look at the Indy contributors meeting, you can see notes on those conversations about different proposals on the Indy Aries split. There was a proposal on how threading could be handled from Sergey. There's a proposal on how threading could be handled from Cam at Kiva. There was a proposal for how actually that was on the Aries call, on how the Aries libraries can be split up. That came from Brent and at Evernym and Ken at the Sovrin Foundation. So there's just a lot of different ideas in the mix right now. And we've been given a lot of feedback there, and a lot of the experiments that we've proposed proposals we've put forward haven't panned out. So here's Brent and Ken's approach. That's worth looking at as well. And then we have been working, we started an RFC. We don't think there's a good RFC for the overall vision to how the Aries implementations work, the relationship between the core libraries and the language frameworks, SDKs, wrappers, they've got various names. So we started that. We're probably going to put that on hold while we finish some of these other things. And then, of course, we've been working on the fully qualified DIDs that got released. Going forward, we're largely going to keep working on these proposals until we have an architecture we're happy with. Another effort that we've done, you can see where we've put together a plan for how we can get libvcx support done, but we're not certain it's viable yet. So we'll see if we end up closing all those issues. Another effort that we've done while we've been together as a team is a lot of JIRA cleanup. We've gone through the backlogs and tried to close all the libvcx issues we're not going to do. A lot of the language frameworks have moved from Indy SDK to Aries, and so we've been closing those issues, the Indy SDK issues. And now there's an Indy Aries, sorry, not Indy Aries, a Hyperledger Aries Jira board. Most of the language boards in Aries, most of the language frameworks in Aries are using GitHub issues, but we still think there's a place for a common Aries set of Jira issues for people to end up in Jira first, especially as we move issues out of Indy to get there. So we created that and cleaned it up. We got rid of the Indy agent Jira project as that's been deprecated and moved to Aries. So that backlog cleanup has been really useful. I think at this point we've got 150 issues in the backlog. We've been through 3/4 of them. Item by item, I think they're all still relevant. We've cleaned up all the old epics. I think the ones that are still open are still relevant. That's been a very productive effort. Hopefully that makes it easier for people to work with us on Indy SDK. The Indy SDK is likely to evolve to become the Aries, sorry, the Indy, we called it the Indy Resolver Aries, as in it's the Aries Resolver that lets you talk to an Indy ledger, but it live in the Indy project. But now they're calling it the Data Registry Interface, the Indy DRI Aries. And we're trying to make sure that the issues that are left either apply to that resolver interface or are assigned to an epic that can be moved to an Aries common library is a whole. So the Postgres wallet, our DID doc efforts, a lot of these things. Bridge schemas, they're all going to move to Aries, but we want to move them as a group. And we want them cleaned up enough that we can make progress in Indy until we understand the plan for Aries. We've made similar progress on the Indy node backlog. It's a bigger backlog. We had almost 500 issues when we started. Now we're down to 376. We've cleaned up a lot of old ones, but we still got a lot more work to do here as well. The Indy backlog, the Indy node backlog has lasted. It's an older backlog and it's got more stuff that we need to clean out. So we're working on that. That is our summary of where we're at now and what our current efforts are. A lot of planning, a lot of architecture, a lot of housekeeping, and of course, preparing to do a training. Those are all really valuable efforts, even if they don't represent as much code created on the SDK side as in sprints past. Of course, if anybody has questions, you should reach out to us. We hang out on chat.hyperledger.org. In the Pound Indy channel, there's also a Pound Indy node and Pound Indy SDK, and of course we hang out in the Aries channels as well. And we look forward to talking with people. Given the focus of this team lately, we've been calling it Indy Aries instead of Indy SDK, because it's kind of the bridge between Indy and Aries. Yes, so we look forward to chatting with people. Any questions people have, please reach out, and we expect to post another update video in about 2 weeks. So thank you very much.